Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 190, F9, second year. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Jacobs. Challenging today, reinventing tomorrow. For more than 70 years, Jacobs engineers, technicians, and scientists have provided integrated solutions to help solve the complex challenges of human spaceflight. Shout out to Jacobs.
Well, shout out to Jacobs. What an appropriately titled company for this lap and this episode. After the break, resident historian Mike Manzi, the Mikester, will be here to talk about F9 once again. As a reminder, we'll be talking about F9 every 3 weeks, this entire lap.
Every
make sure that all past guests get a chance to talk about it if they want to. Joe, extracurricular activities, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
I went to Pittsburgh this weekend because it was 4th of July to help my parents out at the store. In a great news update, this is like the anniversary of like when my dad got assaulted last year. That didn't happen this year. So
very cool.
Better than last year already. Things seem to be like looking up there, so that's good. Everybody seems like a little bit more relaxed. It wasn't as hot. Masks have relaxed. People seem to be less on edge. So I went there, hung out with them. My sister's not there. She moved to Virginia, so it was like the first weekend I've been home ever that she like wasn't in the house. It was like
shout out Maria. I know she's listening.
Exactly. So it was like a weird dynamic, but it was awesome. Got to spend a lot of time with my mom and my dad. I like bought a new grill for his house and like grilled some food. They had some friends over on 4th of July, and then I took Rachel to the point, like, because, you know, in Pittsburgh there's 3 rivers, right? 2 rivers converge into the Ohio, the Allegheny and the Monongahela, and at the point there, they have a fountain, and they do fireworks from the rivers off of barges, and kind of, like, have them so that they just display in the middle there.
Sure.
So we went down to the park and watched those, and it was awesome, because they always have, like, a pretty good fireworks display down there. Rachel, like, as we're leaving, Rachel's like, I am absolutely too old to deal with crowds anymore. Music festivals are pretty much out. She was just like very overwhelmed.
Even though Rachel's younger than you, who's younger than me.
Yes.
So.
She was just like that herd of people. I was like, imagine, like, and we're not even all on drugs this time, right? Like, we used to go to a lot of music festivals. They're like zombie shows at the end of it. This was just people watching fireworks with their kids, and it still was like too many people all trying to go one direction at one time.
Is that COVID or just like elderly exhaustion? I'm going to call you guys aged people.
I think it was maybe both. Like, this was like our first big crowd kind of since COVID, and like, you know, a year and a half in between at like an age where you're like, I really hate people even more than I thought I ever could. Oh, and then Matt is visiting from Atlanta, so Matt's gonna come and he's staying at our house for like a week and a half or 2 weeks or something. So that's what I've been up to this week. How about you?
I've done a lot, I feel.
Tell
On
me.
Thursday, recorded an episode of High School Summer Party with Brian. We did his yearbook special, which is out now, where we did the, we have the Hall of Fame voting, which is open now. If you have not yet voted for the Too Fast, Too Forever Hall of Fame, cageclub.me/bracket. Go there, vote for that thing, please. A couple more weeks, we're going to close it. Let me actually take a look. We're going to unveil the nominees in 3 episodes on Fast 5. So you have about 2 more weeks as of the time of this to get that vote in. But please vote, cast your votes, and remember, not voting for something is a no. So if you want to either cast something in or make sure that things don't fall off, vote, cageclub.me/bracket. But for Brian's thing, he did a similar, kind of thing that he does every year, his class superlatives. So I recorded those with him on Thursday. Yeah. I voted for Rad in every category, and Rad did not win a single thing. So
I voted for Rad too, and also I heard a little segment called Twilight Forever won. So I was pretty excited about that.
I did not vote for that. No offense to you, but a little offense to you. But I also told Brian, I'm like, why don't you call these courses or classes? He's like, I should be doing that. I'm like, yeah.
That's a really fucking good idea. I like to pitch him like some different terminology. Like, we always like kick around terminology, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to change. Like, he's got his lives instead of laps over there for Twilight Forever. But courses like the Two Corey's course or whatever, right? So
it's so smart. Yep, I like it.
Then on Friday, I went to New York. It was my triumphant return to New York for the first time since COVID.
For what?
They had the banners out. They had all sorts of, they welcomed me back with open arms. They're like, well, Joey, we missed you. It's been, boy, it's been like 17 months or something since you've been here. Welcome back. The city is happy to have you. I visited my friends who I had not seen their apartment. They got a beautiful apartment near Central Park, which was great to see. But then we went to the Yankee game, which got rained out.
Oh,
so we went there because my friend's birthday was on Sunday, the 4th of July. Well, thank you so much. But we went there because he and his wife and a couple of us, me and Bob actually, of How to Win the Lottery, we went to the game and we were there and it got rained out. So we're gonna go later in the season to a different game, I think. But yeah, that was kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then we went to a karaoke bar, so this was also weird. So we went to a karaoke bar.
I feel like you always wind up at karaoke bars.
I've only gone to 2 ever, and I don't think I've ever talked about the other one.
Oh man, I for some reason I felt like you're always like winding up at a karaoke bar on these stories, but go ahead.
I don't think so, but we went to one and my friend was like, this is a really nice one. We got there, he's like, this is beautiful. And then they had like no songs. We don't know what happened, if they just like didn't pay their licensing fee, but you know, for instance, like Britney's in the news a lot. So I just like looked up, not that I'm going to sing a Britney Spears song, but I just want to look up what they had. And they only had a medley. They had none of her other songs. They had no songs by Beck. Like these are just like extra glaring omissions. They had 3 songs by Andrew WK, but not Party Hard. So just like, wait, what? And you know, they had a bunch of songs, like they had 2,000 songs or something, but it was just like a lot of songs that like should be like staples, or not even staples, just like you would think like pretty big artists they didn't have. So no, it was weird.
Very weird, yeah.
Sunday was 4th of July, so I went down to my friend's place in Toms River, and they live in a nice house, and they live in a nice part of town, but they live like adjacent to all these mega mansions, basically. It was wonderful because as soon as even before the sun went down, but really as soon as the sun went down, everybody was like showing off. Like we had to see like by 10 or 15 different shows, because they're basically, they live not on the bay, but like adjacent to the bay. And so you see some towns doing fireworks shows, but it's also just like all these like millionaires probably spending like $15,000 or $20,000 in fireworks. And it was amazing. Like everywhere we looked, like all over the bay, and then like neighbors and everything. It was amazing. No crowds because it was just us. We're just in their backyard.
Very cool.
So Rachel would have enjoyed that. But
yeah, for sure.
That was great. Also, they got, and this might be of interest to you, they got a flat top grill for their backyard.
A Blackstone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My friend Matt made sausage and peppers, which was good. He also made probably the best burgers I've ever had homemade on the grill.
Smash
he just
burgers?
took like a 2.5 ounce little thing that he smashed down. Basically, as soon as it was done cooking on the one side, like it almost cooks all the way through on the one side. Flip it over, throw cheese on it, and like in probably 5 minutes, he cooked up like. You put two of those patties on a bun, and like it was unbelievably good.
Yep.
And I mean, they're great outdoor, barbecue kind of chef cooks anyway. But
I'm so
good.
jealous of these Blackstone flat tops. They're really, really cool. Like you can do all kinds of stuff on it. And when I think I said it, but when I was visiting Rachel's parents, one of their friends had the pizza grill, like the pizza thing oven. Mm-hmm. I need to up my outside cooking game. I have the smoker and the grill and stuff, but like flat top and pizza oven are next, so they're on the list.
And they got a big one. You can get a smaller one, but they got one that was like I think 3 or 4 burners. I think you can get a smaller one, of course, but they got a nice one, and Matt does a great job with that. So shout out to them. Monday I did nothing except watch TV because I'm like I just want to lay around do nothing. And then last night I saw a little movie called F9 again, which I know you did too. We'll talk about it after the break.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, so that's all I've been up to, but fun week. Anyway, we have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenin, Justin Kleiman, and Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, West Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting at the $5 level or above. If you like the show and want to contribute financially, you can do that there. You also get perks. You get every episode early. You get monthly bonus episodes. At certain tiers, you get stickers or your choice of movies.
Yep.
And like we said, Michael joined, a couple episodes ago, and he's got his pick locked for this lap. So
that's awesome.
If you want to join toofast2forever.com or be like Jenny, our new patron, either Jenny, join at $1 and then don't cancel. But
yeah, thumbs up for that.
We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me, if you want to email in. So here we go. I want to quickly skim. We have 5 emails, and I don't think... No, none of these are spoilers, so we don't have to have a separate mailbag here. So we have 3 from Alex, 1 from Jerry, and 1 from Nick. So first up from Alex, subject line, can't believe I forgot this.
Okay.
If Fast and Furious crosses over with Transformers, does that mean that Roman joined the military after Too Fast? Because Tyrese is in both movies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot this too, bud. But now that you said it, I remember him in the early one. Yeah.
I was thinking, and I don't know if it was, maybe it was this email or maybe it was just thinking about, I don't know what I was thinking about, but I think we need to do, maybe next year, maybe the year after, we need to do Too Fast, Too Furious lap, like we had the Tokyo Drift lap, and that's the movies of John Singleton, the movies of Tyrese, the movies of Ludacris, the movies of Devin Aoki, and then maybe some kind of wild card in there too. But there's a lot of good stuff that we have not covered yet that we could. But
Yeah.
also including our Debs crossover with Brian, the high school movie that Devin Aoki and Jordan Bruce are in together. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Alex's next email, subject line, Braga is just a bad manager. Corey talking about Braga having Phoenix kill the racers after completing the tunnel run in 4 made me think of something. Presumably only the 4 racers are carrying drugs through the tunnels, right? Clearly Phoenix can make this run pretty easily. Why are they significantly increasing their exposure by involving the street racers at all, let alone killing them or keeping them alive and involving someone you may or may not trust? Felix can make that run by himself, so why doesn't he just do that a few times a week instead? 1 car will have less radar presence than 5. Braga's success was in spite of his terrible planning and leadership skills.
I think that the thing is that cartels use this method. I understand your point, Alex, but the cartels use this method of splitting things up and using more people because if one package gets caught,
Sure.
you have 4 that presumably get through. So I think that maybe that factors into it because, like, you know, we watch a lot of these, like, busted at the border type shows. And it's always like they send, like, 4 vans with drugs into the border at once, like the border crossing. And if they catch one of them, they're like, whatever, 3 got through. So I'm thinking maybe it's that.
I'm thinking now Turbocharged Prelude, a much better title would have been Buster at the border.
Buster at the border. I like it.
And then Alex sends one more email, subject line Nas. By the way, Nas energy drink came out in 2005. The name was licensed from Holly, who makes the nitrous system. So there we go. We were asking about that. I think Corey was asking if it was made for the movie, and we said no, it existed before or whatever. But yeah.
So it didn't exist before, but they were kind of playing off the Nas.
Well, it existed before the 4th movie. It existed before Tokyo Drift, but yeah.
Exactly. That makes sense.
Not for the first 2.
I didn't know Holly made the nitrous. Holly makes carburetors that boomers love. So I didn't know that they were the producers of the NOS nitrous system.
The next email has a multimedia component. This is from Jerry.
Okay.
Subject line, Tokyo Drift NASCAR style. Check this out. It's exactly what it's like. And it's just the Tokyo Drift song, but just NASCAR cars out of control drifting around the track.
This is really... Anything that you put this song to is awesome by me, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of NASCAR cars going sideways.
So thank you for sending that in.
That's
Jerry,
fun.
the last email also has a multimedia component. This one's from Nick.
Oh, man.
Subject line, pipe wrench. It so happens that I needed a pipe wrench to hold my new blade belt drive. These are all words I don't say. I can't say because I just don't know.
He's fixing his, ride-on lawnmower, it looks like?
On my mower, yep, and figured I'd share a very handy tool. Well, there you go.
I hope you didn't beat anybody to death with it, Nick. That's all I'm saying.
Man, oh man. Man, oh man.
If you did, don't tell us in email, because this might be used for evidence in a later court case at some date. So,
but thank you for emailing in, everybody. If you want to email in family@cageclub.me, just don't confess any murders because
yeah,
it wouldn't be good. I mean, don't murder, just number one, like
be
flat
good for
out
the show.
Murder.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know that it would be good for the show. Like if Corey died in the episode last week, that would have been better. Like if a listener of ours becomes a murderer, not really, unless we get dragged into a high-profile
court case.
I don't know that it's good.
Like a Netflix special. If Netflix does a special about. Just at least kill enough people that you get a Netflix special, so that
there's a dramatic reenactment, and like we're played by people. Like it's not even they just get voice actors to play us because like nobody knows what we look like because whatever. Yeah, all right, okay. So murder, go ahead and murder, but make sure you do it in a way that makes people want to reenact it on a Netflix series.
Please,
okay?
Thank you.
Also, in your like manifesto, reference us a bunch, but don't say we told you to do it. Just like bring it up so that we have to get questioned. We're like part of the story, but like not liable or culpable. Maybe on third thought, don't murder.
Don't murder is probably the best option, but if you have to,
but if
before.
you do, yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, store at toofasttooforever.shop and leave us an Apple podcast review if you can, please and thank you. Oh, by the way, this is unrelated. For like months, I was using 3 different podcast players, like what they call pod catchers,
Yeah.
to listen to my shows, and I was going crazy because I pay for Stitcher Premium, which has like all the Earwolf shows like Comedy Bang Bang and How This Get Made and everything. And I
Okay.
pay for that annually. It's like $35 a year because it's all ad free, and there's also like premium shows that you don't get access to otherwise, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, this is worth it. I love these shows.
Yeah.
Ad free is great. I want to support them, whatever.
Cool, yeah.
But I didn't know. I thought you had to listen in the app, and their app largely is bad. I paid $10 a month to support another podcast that used to be on Earwolf that went independent. For some reason, the app that I was using, Overcast, which I love across the board except for this one thing, couldn't get this podcast to feed into. And I had to use Apple Podcasts, which is absolute garbage.
Okay.
So I was using 3 different apps. Then I found out that there's somebody, like Earwolf or somebody, allowed the ability to open source. So you can like type in credentials on the site and get a podcast feed from a Stitcher, like an Earwolf Premium, like whatever, one of those podcasts, and bring it into another app of your choice. So I was like, cool, don't need to use Stitcher anymore, down to 2. I was like, this is great. But this other one show, it's like, like 24, like whatever the number is, like 24 of the 25 shows I listen to are in one place, and this one is in a garbage Apple Podcast thing. And I'd emailed the developer, which is just a dude, of Overcast, and I was like, can you, like, this is like the only show, and like I followed up, and like he just didn't respond. He used to be so good at responding. And then on the 4th of July, he's like, hey, I think I fixed it. Can you check? And he worked. So now, finally, for the first time ever, really, or maybe at least since I started paying for Stitcher Premium, all my shows are in one place. So, with that said, if you hate the way you listen to podcasts, Overcast is great. There's a free version. I think premium is like $10 a year. Like it's so cheap, and I love it. It's wonderful.
That's awesome.
And you can
dude.
Also, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can put the link in there. Like the premium, removes ads in the app, not in shows, but also lets you subscribe to any RSS feed. So like our Patreon feed, you can just drop it right in there. So
very cool.
If you're looking for a new player, Overcast, just want to shout out Marco somebody. Arment, maybe? He's not listening. But Overcast is great, and I'm now all in one place, which I am very thankful
I love
about.
when that happens. That's an awesome story, dude.
I got so excited that I got an email from this guy. I'm like, oh, and it worked. I was like, this is wonderful.
Yeah,
Well, so thank you.
Awesome.
On the streets. So anyway, leave us an Apple Podcast review, and then don't use that app. Anyway, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. Joe, there's another spin-off movie announced.
I know. And my reaction is similar to Kevo's, but I feel like it's kind of necessary.
Wait, where did Kevo comment? On Facebook?
He commented on Facebook, and it was just Christina Aguilera going, boo, thumbs down, and which tracks. But I feel like it's kind of necessary now. Somebody else, what we were talking with Wes.
Oh, the movie
about
is Cypher. This is Cypher spinoff.
Sorry, yes, we were talking with Wes about it, and he was like, it kind of feels like they realized that Cypher's now like the big bad, and we haven't.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Oh, you?
I was
okay.
like,
yes,
yeah, because he was like not because he read the justification. He had a different take on it or whatever, and I'm like, look, I think what they're saying is that Charlize is, maybe second place would be Helen Mirren, but like Charlize is far and away the best actor in these franchise. There's only one actor that we would realistically do a podcast about in this film franchise. Well, no, that's not true. Like we might do Statham or whatever. But like we did her because she's amazing and talented and a kick-ass movie star, right?
Yeah.
And so she's wonderful. And I think so. Here was a new idea that I had. So I think that they need to, if this is true, because now we're up to what? We have a Dom spinoff, which we don't know how that's going to happen.
Tyrese
a
and
Roman
Tej.
spinoff.
Roman and Tej, yeah.
Cypher, and then maybe the Letty led one. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm thinking possibly, and I don't know if this is going to be true or not, that Cypher's spinoff, quote unquote spinoff, could be the Letty led one where they go against her and maybe recruit her. I don't, I feel like I don't know what the story of that would be.
Girl power story. That makes sense. Yeah.
But it could be like she's the villain and they have to kick her ass, or I don't know, But
I feel like it should be that, but also like a lot of backstory in this trajectory. This would be like a good in between 10-1 and 10-2, right? Like that Cypher kind of like pivots a little bit, and then we find out who the real big bad is.
Not a spoiler for 9 really, other than she's in it and spoiler survives. But like it's not like, okay, so spoilers for MCU, which I think people by now know, but like Black Widow dies in Endgame, but now Black Widow has a spinoff, which is like around the time of Civil War, right? So maybe you could do like, say Cypher died in 9, you could do that, but like why would you do that? I don't know. And like I just don't know. It would be funny if like you know how they're doing a Fury Road 2 or whatever they're gonna call it, like they're doing another Mad Max one, but it's about Furiosa.
Yeah.
But it's young Furiosa and it's played by Anya Taylor-Joy, aka the Queen from the Queen's Gambit. She's not the
Yes.
Queen, but you know,
Yeah.
the titular Queen in the Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
It would be funny if they did a Cypher spin-off with Anya Taylor-Joy, like she just keeps getting cast as like
Young
Charlize and things
That would be awesome.
in different franchises. I'm into it.
I'm into it too.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do. I don't know where this falls.
It's good rumors for us though, because it just means more movies, and that's fine
Sure.
by me always.
You just want to keep having movies so that you don't have to cover spy racers for the Fast and Furious minute.
That's so true. That's so true. Oh, yes, it is. As I was watching F9 yesterday, I was thinking about Spy Racers again, and I was like, man, I don't remember exactly what happened in the last season of Spy Racers, even though I watched it twice. And then I was like, yeah, but I don't want to ever watch that again. Like,
Nope. Sorry, Spy Racers.
sorry, Spy Racers.
It's just not for us. It's not made for us. It's a different demo.
Exactly.
Actually, so now, any other news that you've seen about the Fast and Furious?
Not like specifically news, but this fucking takeoff of Dom Toretto family memes has been wonderful. I'm glad that everybody else like seems to be really into it right now. So I've been finding a ton of Dom family memes and they all make me laugh. So if you have any great ones, send them to me. I'll send you ones back. I know Nick messaged us one and I sent him some, so that's how I'm feeling.
I think I'm the only person who doesn't like them. I just don't like memes, man. Like, it feels lazy.
That's
It
very
just-
on brand for you to not like memes.
I like text-based ones when they're good, but just, shitty Photoshop and like,
I love
don't
the
know.
shitty Photoshop ones. They
I
make me
know.
so happy.
I did just do a thing that we said that I teased that we were going to do. I Googled The Rock president and Dwayne Johnson president just because, we're getting close. We're getting close,
Yeah.
maybe. And it seems like a couple of weeks ago on June 16th, he said that it was, quote, a humbling honor of possibly running for president one day. And he also admitted that fans convinced him to consider a run. So it seems like we manifested that. Like whoever had this on their vision board, we made it a reality. Like, it seems like maybe he wouldn't have done it, but then he made a TV show about it, right? So I don't know.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, what is Young Rock about? Like, what's the framing device for Young Rock? Maybe he's like on a press junket for a new movie. Like, you could still do the same show, but just not be president. I don't know.
I really don't know either, but
Any of the news that you've seen or just the memes?
no, I just wanted to pitch how awesome the memes were to me, so that's it.
All the memes that are fit to print. The final thing to do before we talk to Mike Manzi in a quick, abbreviated, although there's a lot to talk about in this thing, is the Fast and Furious, the Too Fast, Too Furious minute 17. A minute I titled in all capital letters, maybe for the first time ever. Bilkins is back.
He's back.
So, how long you been in South Florida?
A while.
Before that? We know you're Brian O'Connor, formerly of the LAPD.
Man, you got the wrong guy.
Really?
How you doing, O'Connor? Let's take a walk.
Carter Verone. Born in Argentina, but he's lived most of his life in Miami. Now he owns the biggest import-export business in the state. You see, unfortunately, the cartels have been successful getting drugs into Miami, but they've had a hard time getting the cash out. We've been surveilling him for a year, but we've never been able to put him and the money together. We swept his house, his warehouses.
Nothing.
So in this minute, Brian is arrested and brought to the station for questioning. Agent Markham and Agent Dunn enter the interrogation room 1C to talk to Brian. After Brian fails to cooperate, Bilkins enters the room and greets Brian. Brian is brought to a conference room as Agent Markham begins to share the information that the police have on Carter Verone. And I just, I've seen it before, but like going minute by minute now and just savoring this minute. The look on Brian's face when Bilkins walks in, it's perfect. It's just like,
I know.
shit. Because I think he's thinking like, maybe I can walk away. Maybe I can get out of here.
Yeah.
And then Bilkins shows up and it's like, well, shit. But also because Bilkins shows up, he's now working for the cops again, basically, right? So, I don't know. You win some, you lose some.
Obviously, he doesn't want to be working for the cops again, so
Sure.
not good for him, but good for the franchise as a whole.
Yes. There's a lot of information in the conference room that we're going to get to, but I looked up because this is the first time we see Agent Dunn, who is for people who don't know, he's the Gallo guy. He's the Gallo 12 or Gallo 24 guy. I don't
Yes.
think I ever knew his name until I looked him up today. But he's played by this guy, Edward Finlay, who's best known for this movie. Like on IMDb, this is his number one. He played Rave Kid in Bad Boys 2.
Oh.
He was a regular on Ocean Ave. So like all three of those things were like in the same 2-year span. Like 03 to 05, this guy was like hot, I guess. I don't know. And he also played in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's like best known for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I was like, oh, cool. But he was in one episode. So, but he's still acting. He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in Modern Family. He played Van Helsing in an episode of NTSF STSUV, which is a very funny parody show on Adult Swim.
Oh, cool.
I didn't know anything about him. I still don't really know anything about Edward Finlay, but shout out to Agent Dunn, the Gallo 24 Joker himself.
Yeah, that is really cool. When I was watching this, Brian's in that interrogation room, and there's just one table, and, we pause and look at everything, and I realized that I have that exact same table at work that I put together and ordered online. Like literally
cool.
The exact same table. And I was like, very fucking weird that I know exactly what that table is. So that was my cool interrogation room fact that I got there.
Love it. The only thing I want to say, and you might have heard, although I've never heard it while watching the movie, it's just that like writing down and checking the dialogue, there is a bell that chimes. Did you hear the bell?
No, where's it at?
So when Agent Markham, who's got like the big chunk of dialogue, is like Carter Verone, born in Argentina, blah, 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 blah. And then he says something about owning the biggest import-export business in the state. Like it just goes, ching. I thought it was something here. When I played it again, it happened again. I'm like, oh no, it must be in here. But like, there's no bell on screen. It's just like there was a sound. I don't know where it came
Somebody's
from.
phone went off or something.
Maybe. I have no idea. But like they didn't edit it out. I don't know if it was. I have no idea. But just weird. Like one of those things. Like I never would have noticed this thing that does not matter, but I noticed. So
yeah, very very cool.
let us talk about the Carter Verone information screen behind Agent Markham, because there's a lot of information here. Some of which is cool, but like. Carter Verone's basically gone. Like, if this was like, Cypher or whatever, like, it would mean more, but like, we're never getting him back. But there's some cool stuff here.
Yes.
So what do you like? Because you and Rachel did some extra detective work and did some blurry text uncovering too.
There's like his whole criminal profile at the top. I'll let you so background, usually I get all like the text blobs. Joey sends me a message today like, hey, just let you know there's a giant text blob in this one, like, you might need some extra time. I was like, cool, no problem. He's like, here, I took a screenshot of it for you so you could just like read it like this. And I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. And then he's like, I just typed it all out, don't worry about it. I was like, okay, cool. Like that works. So I guess you were motivated today.
I was like, I'm not doing anything right now. And like, I was just like, I'll just do it.
That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. So there's like the whole thing of like, his height, weight, whatever, blah, 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 race, eye color. But then at the bottom, there's like these bullet points about him, and they're really funny because they bold all these things that are like, these are the important things. So like, for someone that happened to be looking at that on the screen, it's like drug cartel, fluent in Spanish, narcotics distribution, murder. Like that's...
Yeah, because the other thing to keep in mind is that nobody is supposed to be freeze-framing these.
Exactly.
So yeah, drug cartel, fluent, narcotics, murder. It's like, oh, yeah.
Sums him up. That's his bullet points, like his character bullet points. And also, they spelled Colombian wrong.
Correct. Yeah, there's a couple goofy things here. So I made note of these things. He's born in Buenos Aires, which is cool. Okay. Like he says Argentina, but like Buenos Aires. He's got 3 different warrant numbers, none of which match in number or style. There's there's a Florida one that's a prominent one, but there's one that starts with a W, and there's one that just starts with numbers. So I don't know where these are from. I would assume
like one's like a Colombian one.
Well, one's probably like a state warrant, right? And one's maybe a federal warrant, and one's maybe like a local warrant, like a municipal,
or like an Interpol warrant, maybe.
Maybe
like bigger. I
don't know.
That. Yeah, who knows?
Occupations, it just says NA, like just doesn't have a job, which I think is pretty funny.
Yeah, makes sense.
They also have, and this is the craziest thing, and this you can't see even when they zoom out, but behind Markham, there's a thing that says forehead. And obviously, forehead jokes in this series with Roman. There's something that says incline, but spelled wrong. There's no E. Incline, 32. No units, no values.
Nothing.
Don't know what that means.
32 inclines.
Then there's height, which is 4.5 inches. So in case you were wondering, Carter Verone's forehead, 4.5 inches. It's one of those things like when you're making a character in a video game and it's just like, I don't need all these sliders. I don't give a shit what my forehead looks like. But you can still like adjust like the pitch and the yaw and whatever. It's like, I don't know what these words are.
I mean, I know what the words are, but it's like, can you just do like tall, medium, skinny, or you know what I mean? Like real big, not big, normal, like.
The warrant was issued July 16th, 1997, so
we're
this
close.
movie comes out in '03. The movie, essentially, without fast forwarding, we'll just say, it means a warrant's 6 years old and he has not been brought in yet. So, like, cool, I guess. He's getting away.
And he has like a big-ass house. They know where he lives.
Yeah.
Like, Monica Fuentes is living there with him.
And literally a warrant means, like, they have a reason to arrest him.
Yes. So,
I guess there may be, like, the Monica Fuentes thing is they're trying to catch him in the act and also whatever, but, like,
it's
just
always
take him down.
It's always like they're trying to get him in the worst possible case. So, like, if you have, like, speeding tickets, you can have a warrant. But if you're, like, a cartel ringleader, they're like, well, like, let's catch you selling drugs because the speeding tickets don't mean anything, right?
Well, so here's the thing. So, like, okay, that's fair. But in the drug trade equivalent, right, like, because, again, murder of a Colombian officer suspected there, murdered, again, suspected or murder, whatever, thought to be involved in narcotics distribution. Would you rather have, like, 12 small drug deals that you're not met? Like, it just feels like you're enabling the continued criminal activities.
That's true, but then we also have, like, the flip side, like, to get philosophical, we also have the flip side of, like, the resource allocation for bringing someone in and it going to trial, right? So, like, you want to make it kind of worth it that, like, when you stop him for a very long time and prevent him from selling drugs, whereas if you just stop him for a speeding ticket, you spend resources and time and money to get him convicted of something stupid that he's probably going to get off of.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
this is.
Okay.
That's how I think about it, at least.
Anything else in this minute? Anything else you saw? Anything else you want to make note of in minute 17? Bilkins is back.
I really like all these, like, giant word blob pages things. Those are really cool. And I'm excited because I know what's coming up in the minutes. Obviously, you mentioned it earlier, get some pizza delivery coming up really soon.
Very, very soon. So we could grab something from the Carter Verone information screen, but that's not meant to be focused on. But they do focus on one little thing. What interrogation room is Brian questioned in? The answer 1C.
Yes. And I think that's a great question.
I mean, it's very difficult.
Very difficult, but it is prominently displayed on the screen for you to focus on.
For a couple seconds, too, yeah.
Yeah, so this isn't like what's behind somebody on the floor or something. This is real. I get it.
It's realer than real. All right, let's take a break. Let us bring in the resident historian himself to talk about F9.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 190, F9, the Fast and Furious saga, colon or no colon, your preference. This episode is brought to you by Jacobs, JSEG.space. Jacobs contributes proven experience to many of NASA's spaceflight programs with employees located throughout 8 major NASA centers across the United States. Shout out to Jacobs.
Well, shout out to Jacobs. Welcome back to F9. This is second gear. This is the second time we are spoiling this movie. So if you have not yet seen F9, stop listening. Unless you don't want, I don't know, or get it spoiled again. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
We are joined once again, it's been a while.
It's been a long time without him, my friend.
We'll tell him all about it. Actually, when was the last time? Let's see here. Hold on. It wasn't that long ago. So it was, he's on Torque like a month ago. Never mind.
But it's been a while.
It
In
feels like
episode.
forever.
It's been a while since Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah,
True.
for sure. But with us, the voice is Mr. Mike Manzi, the resident historian. Hello, Mike.
Hello, family. How's it going?
Good. Now, did you see this? Because Joe and I saw this again yesterday for the second time. Have you seen this once in theaters or more than once in theaters?
I have only had the opportunity to see it the one time when we saw it
With
together.
us.
And
Yes.
Don't worry, it was burned into my brain.
Good.
I remember just about everything, I feel.
So Joe and I think you listened to our spoiler-filled episode because you
Yes.
noted, you're like, oh, ramen shout out, because
Yeah.
when I was kind of teasing you about you teasing yourself about ramen, which was very good. So you kind of know like some of our theories about like the big bad, who could be, and where we sort of
yeah.
fall on this or whatever. But this episode is largely, Joe and I have some more thoughts and stuff, but this is largely your opportunity to talk about whatever you want with F9. So
Wow.
either in reaction to the stuff we've already talked about, something new, wherever you want to start, and we can just go from there. But
Did you
I
like
guess
it?
the first question, did you like the movie?
I loved it. Yes. Yeah. And you know what? It proved I am a true fan. For better or worse, thick and thin, I am with this series till the end. I think I'm gonna go start watching the Netflix
Yeah.
cartoons, right? Like I need to absorb. If there's books, I want to read books about like why aren't there novels and stuff about characters? Like that's the sort of mode that this episode got me into. Like Fast 9, like I was really into it. I mean, it definitely helped that it was the first time back in theaters. It was with all you guys. We had
Yeah.
a huge crew together. Like it was just a really great time, much like sort of the Hobbs and Shaw experience. I had a complete and total blast watching this thing. I mean, Joey, I was sitting next to you. You felt me freaking out like every 10 minutes.
The cool thing is when I went to go see it again yesterday, I was just telling Joey while we were waiting for you to join, I was nervous because of how much I liked it the first time, and I know that we saw it as a group, and it was like one of our first theater experiences back, and I was wondering if that played into how much I liked it. And when I watched it again yesterday, I left the theater, and like I looked at Rachel and I was like, that was still really good. And she's like, yeah, I feel the same way. So like we were still hype on it, and I was like, that's good boost for me that like I wasn't just jaded by the experience of what was happening. I still really fucking like this movie, and I'm glad that I got to see it again. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy that we get to watch this forever for infinity.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with, I think the word of the night was fan service, if I recall.
Yes.
And that's a very tricky thing to do. Most of the times it sort of falls into self-parody, and I think that they tread the line like really well. The series has just sort of become so over the top and operatic. Yeah, they managed to kind of do whatever they want to do and get away with it at this point. It's wild. And like, this movie actually sort of did things in ways I didn't think it was going to do, and I didn't necessarily love everything that it did, but the end result was great. What was that?
I was just saying, I can't believe you didn't love everything they did.
No. Well, it's just in the sense that, like, I was expecting certain things to happen in different ways, or for stuff like space, for example, to be way different than it was. Like, it was taken way more grounded than I was expecting it to. Like, I was thinking, like, they were going to be running around in a space station where the main villain had, like, a laser pointed at the moon. Like, that's where my mind went when they said Fast and Furious is going to space. But it's like, no, like, this... Okay, within the realm of their abilities, this seemed kind of plausible enough. They're not on Mars at the end of the film or anything. and there was a little bit of like stuff with Han. I know we can get into stuff with Han. I don't care how they brought him back was sort of like where I fell down at the end of the day. I'm just glad to have him back.
Agreed.
But I definitely like need to sort of maybe go over some of that a little bit and do the timeline dance one more time, perhaps.
As I watched this again yesterday, one of my biggest takeaways was I was very glad that when we watched F9, that I found the storyline to be very straightforward. And there was still some things that I was like kind of iffy on because like maybe I missed during the movie because I was like hyper about things going on in the background or things people were saying. But as I watched it again the second time, I was like, oh no, this is a very, very clear, straightforward storyline. This is they're telling you exactly who's going bad, exactly what they're trying to get. There's an object that they're trying to get. And I was like very comforted in the fact that I was like, oh, I can follow this exactly. I remembered exactly how the movie played out and like what the beats were to it. I still watch 8 or 7 or some things, and I just like I forget total scenes of it. Just like big chunks of this movie are just gone from my brain because like they don't really affect the story too much. They're just kind of set pieces. And this feels like no, everything had its place. It fits in order. and it worked really, really well for me.
I think my favorite thing about this movie is that it's two movies. It's a prequel and it takes place right now. So it's like
Yeah.
got the present day stuff and then all that prequel stuff. I fucking love that stuff. And and this series has figured out how to be sort of like a spin-off machine. Like it did the Hobbs and Shaw. You know, we hear about sort of the lady movies, and
Yep.
now like we could have teen films too with this cast and crew, as
I
it were.
know.
And that just got me really excited. I really enjoyed all that. You know, I thought it was a very clever way to sneak Jacob into the mix because Dom has not divulged very much about that incident and about his past. And Mia has been in communications with Jacob, but we find out that she's kind of like been keeping him kind of protected from Dom a little bit and everything. So I thought it was a very clever way to pre-introduce Jacob. We're going to see him first as in the flashbacks, and then we're going to see him as John Cena. So I thought
It
that
is
was
smart.
really cool.
I agree, because that's hard to do, right? Like, you know, they're like, oh, you have a new brother. The whole franchise is based on family. We haven't seen him in 9 movies. To start him with the prequel, with like the preview backstory type stuff, feels like the much better fit to start it. It was jarring to me that we started the movie with a flashback, but at the same time, I feel like it really works. I'm with you.
Do you think we're going to see the like son or daughter of the guy that Dom beats? You know, and like
Kenny
sort of-
Linder?
well, we find out that he accidentally had a hand in the death, right? Like at first we thought it was intentional, but then by the end of the movie, it's sort of like Dom and Jacob's relationship. It's all just one big misunderstanding between everybody about what's been going on and not being sort of forward or honest or outspoken about what's happening to each other, keeping secrets and things. So now that guy feels sort of like collateral damage, and like maybe he's got a son or a family that like might be coming after Dom or working for Eaton or they reconstructed this guy without them knowing. I don't know. I liked how it just let I don't want to say uninitiated, because by this point a lot of people are fans, but like I'm sure a lot of people forgot about this moment in Dom's life because it's only really come up.
Oh, no. Like, nobody remembers this. Like, it's,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
the
it's just
hardcore
us.
fans.
It's us, yeah. But I think that you're onto something, Mike. Like we've been pitching. Cypher has to have a reason that she's like out to get them, right? So there's a timeline where Cypher could be Kenny Linder's daughter.
Yeah, maybe she's Mrs. Nobody. I don't know. Like that could be another thing. Like I really love Joe too. Your whole Mr. Nobody could be behind it all, playing chess, setting them up without them knowing. You know,
It
getting
seems
on
like
their
it,
good
right?
side. Yeah. The only thing is, what about Little Nobody? He never showed up again, right? Wasn't he in part 8?
I don't know. I do want to say, so we had someone who listens to the show, I think on YouTube. He commented, he left a couple very long comments, and we read it on, I think, the last spoiler filled mailbag, Joe, about, or Vivek was talking about like how Dom might have known Hanum's alive. And I made special note in this viewing that in Mr. Nobody's message, he does say somebody, it's garbled, is alive. You can hear is alive. It still feels like too much of a coincidence, even though when Dom hears that, he goes right to the drawer and pulls out the postcard and is like, oh,
Shit,
huh?
yeah.
But like it's because he sees the necklace hanging, whatever. So I'm wondering if in a future movie we're gonna see that scene, like him recording that message.
For sure.
Oh,
I think we
they
have to
yeah.
hear. Yeah, we have to hear the rest of this message that we got broken up. For sure.
Yeah. I think that might even be the start of the next movie. It's like the plane going down and Jacob hijacking it and Cypher getting freed or whatever. Like that would be a really cool way to start it. And then we follow like what happened to Mr. Nobody, or you know, if he isn't responsible for what's all been happening and everything. But yeah, I mean, I remember the first time watching it saying he's alive or something. I thought that they were going to freeze frame the final shot of that garbled message and they'd see it was Jacob. And I don't think that's what happened.
They freeze it on the chain.
Okay,
So,
okay. So that then it's sort of the same thing. Yeah.
But now we know there's more than one chain. Like it could.
Oh,
I mean,
they sell that chain. Then it's a Toretto brand cross.
this
Like,
could be also your dad is still alive, which isn't true. Like that's not. You know what I mean? But like.
Okay. Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
all
you're
very
right. That could
interesting.
be Han. That could be Jacob. that could be
I mean,
Cypher.
it
Cypher
would
is still
make-
alive because we thought that she jumped out of the plane, so we didn't know if she was alive or dead.
But that scene makes sense that he's saying Han is alive because here's one of the
Yeah.
things that I picked up this time around that
Tell
I
me.
didn't really pick up the first time, and this is not my big thing. There's one big thing which is almost certainly just a dumb coincidence, but like there's
ahead.
something that's incontrovertible in the thing, and so we'll talk to that later. We find out that Mr. Nobody worked for the CIA, so did Giselle. Because of that, we talked about this. They knew that he could trust Han, and then when Deckard comes calling,
Yes.
they use it as a cover to get Han out because a rogue agent came up or whatever, and that was Jacob. Like, you think it's maybe
Yes.
Deckard, but it's actually Jacob. He says in the next scene or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
he's like, I went rogue. Like he says it in the tunnels or whatever the thing.
So
yeah.
they're insinuating, I think, that Mr. Nobody pulled Han out of like active CIA duty to become a full-time babysitter of Elle.
Yeah.
And like, I understand she is the key, like the literal key,
The
to
key.
letting Project Ares work, but like, lock that shit up and let Han be an agent. Like, I don't like that is just like, why would you ever pull any agent out of the field to just be a babysitter? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, you did not watch the Taylor Lautner movie Abduction.
I did. I just haven't seen it recently, and I will
because
never
that's
watch it again.
The whole premise of that movie as well, that these two agents are just now Taylor Lautner's parents.
Yeah.
Because he is also a special person. He's special.
I mean, I had a bigger problem that they sort of stashed Han in the Japanese witness protection and didn't send him out of the country. Like, he's still hanging around Japan after all
And
that.
not only that, but he's in a neighborhood where Mia and Letty think to check.
Right,
Yes.
right. Like, he's tracked down.
He's not
a whole-
hiding. He's got a
No.
big Mexico flag in his window.
Yeah.
Like, it's the worst plan.
Yeah. So this is the only sort of hiccup is like how they brought Han back. Like, to be honest, well, we're sitting in the theater watching the movie. I'm like, they're doing this flashback thing. I bet that is a flashback. We're gonna cut back to a prior heist where Han was around, and it's like one more Han's here. Like, let's do our thing. But then we'll cut back, and it's like, oh, I wish he was still here. If only we had, or like we remember something he did from that time or something, and that's what's helping us in this mission. But no, like he's back and it's real, and he's here, and he never died, and it is kind of messy, but I understand they want to consolidate everything, right? Like, they have to bring everything under the same umbrella of this spy world of the Nobodyverse or whatever. Whereas he was secretly there, like recruiting people, and like, who knows how far back it goes if he recruited Jacob in like the 90s. How deep is this organization? Like, who's going to pop up, and like who's a sleeper cell, or it's just like so hard to tell at this point. I liked it and I didn't in that way. And I also agree with you, Joey, is like they just turned him into a babysitter, where it's like, I'm sure they could have shipped this girl whose like genetic code unlocks this piece of the tenant algorithm they found that may or may not be from the future.
Yes,
or
lots
I
of
want to talk
future.
about. Yep.
Yeah.
or might be extraterrestrial in origin. We cannot dismiss that possibility either. There has to be more capable agents. If he found someone like Giselle, who's like, sorry, but more badass than Han, right? Like, she sort of is like
Agent-wise, 100%.
Yeah, agent-wise, right?
She's more trained, everything. Like,
Yeah.
Han was just a dude.
Nobody
Right.
could definitely find another secret agent to watch over this child. Okay, and like maybe another. I keep saying it's the weirdest thing, but this is what's also so weird. Was he commissioned to steal? I'm just going to call it the algorithm. I don't remember what they called it, but
It's Project Ares.
Tesseract. Project Ares. Yeah, is he commissioned to steal the MacGuffin while he's hanging out with DK and Sean
Yes.
and everybody? It's in the
Yes.
middle of like all of that shit that's going on too. So like, he's hanging out with these teenagers. He's showing Sean the ropes. He's being chased by DK this night, and all of a sudden, like, now we're gonna use this opportunity to like get me out of the game and like hide me away. So
And
it's like
give him
so,
a child. And
it's
give him
just-
a child
It's
in the
the
middle
one
of it.
thing that's too much.
There's no way to rectify the timeline that Elle does not exist in Tokyo Drift, because at the end of Tokyo Drift, Han is quote-unquote killed, right? And they use that cover to get him out and to babysit Elle, which again, even if you want to like keep Han in the field, there are probably many like maybe retired agents or something, like people who are like great childcare people who don't want to be an active spy. Like why take somebody even if he's less badass than Giselle out of the field? Whatever. I don't understand. But yes, there's no way that Tokyo Drift happens where Han. It might be at the beginning of that relationship. It might be like, because it's 7 years difference or whatever, right? Because L's like 11 and 18 or whatever it is, right? But like, there's no version of the world. Like, he knows L before he dies, which is crazy. But anyway, I want to go back to the message from Mr. Nobody. Because he says, he says Han is alive, right?
Yeah, he says he is alive, but we don't know who he is. Yes.
Oh, does he say is it officially he is alive?
I think so. Now you made me question it, but I really think he says.
I think it's garbled. I mean, so for what I'm about to say, it doesn't matter. I do think we're going to see that eventually. But anyway, he's trying to tell Dom, Project Ares is a thing I need you to take care of. I'm embedding GPS coordinates in this message because I know that you'll know Ramsey and she'll be able to uncover it.
Yes.
So that's part of it.
Yes.
I also need you to come here because there's an item on board that is also with Cypher, but that when Cypher, who is supposedly the smartest woman in the world, ostensibly, right?
Yeah.
Is saved or rescued or hijacked from this plane, they don't take the half of Project Ares, and it's just lying in a field in Mexico somewhere. And then also, you're going to have to find out where the other half is, and that's another thing. But then, by the way, he is alive, which means you need to go to Tokyo, where you thought your friend who was dead is actually alive. And oh, by the way, he's been out of commission for 7 years, babysitting a girl who is the key. And he has to convey all of that in like 10 seconds.
It's
Yeah.
insane. It's very much, it reminds me a little of Rise of Skywalker. I can't even remember, but the last Star Wars movie where it was literally like a scavenger hunt, where it's like we have to go to this planet and get this item. All right, now we got to go to that planet and get that item. Now we go to the other one and use them. Okay, now this one leads us here. All right, we're finally here. Let's like do the thing. And like this kind of feels like that as well, except like they're getting the whole list at the beginning. Kind of too many things to need, right? Like make the device one piece. Have Jacob escape with that and Cypher. The ticking clock is catching them before they launch it. Forget about the DNA unlocking
Biometrics,
biohuman thing, whatever. Like that is insane. Like I really don't know how that's going to pan out in the next few films. There's ways to clean this up and like make it the same movie, basically. Like I don't know. Like I get a little tripped up trying to follow it, whereas in the other movies, like there isn't a lot of, it's all soap opera drama. It's not sort of like technical, like mumbo jumbo kind of stuff like this so much. Like we had the God's Eye thing, but that was like one movie, most of the time we're after a person before they do something. And so like it was weird to be like, all right, we got to get it before they get it, but then they got it, and so we have to get them before they use it, and now they've used it, and it's just like, I don't know, it was a little sort of like maybe off rhythm or something at the time, but like I was having a lot of fun, so I didn't care.
We are looking into it like this to like break it down, obviously, but I think that technically what it is it's just a way to get a bunch of set pieces.
Yeah.
Like if you split the thing in two, then you have to find two halves so you can have an action sequence to get each half.
That's a good call. Yeah. But then it's like, I get frustrated because of the open threads. It's like, where's Mr. Nobody? Like they completely don't even mention him after Han's back in the picture, and I know they might be saving stuff like that for the next movie, but then save the second half of this device for the next movie too. Make it all about like, I don't know. I mean, it just felt a little loaded, I guess.
I'm not worried about that because I don't want to like prejudge, because maybe they have more than 2 movies worth of story to tell. And I feel like if the second half of this, like if this was like, because again, in every movie they kind of have to save the world, and so they don't save the world, they just have to get half a device in this. It's kind of like, oh, that's not, like, I think that works more, Mike, if this is 10-1 and 10-2. Like if this is like part of the bigger half. Yeah. But I think that this has to just be like another road bump. Because I think the questions that remain from this movie is where is Mr. Nobody and what's going on with him, and what's Cypher up to, basically. Like where is she going to go next? Because like everything else largely kind of settles. Also, Deckard and Han and that kind of thing. But like that was already open. But like the unanswered, unresolved new questions, I think, are just around Mr. Nobody, and also maybe not even Cypher. It's really just Mr. Nobody, right? Because there's nothing else this movie, like no other can of worms this movie opens, or is there? No, right? Like everything's
not that
pretty
I
much
think of.
closed up. I think.
Because it's like we know Jacob's back, but he's kind of like already like involved. We know Han's back, which it wrapped up more than it opened for sure.
I have a feeling we have no clue where this is going to end because this feels sort of like wrapping up what we're used to. It kind of feels like the end of like a phase almost, where it's like this is the last time it's going to be this calm or quiet, and from now on, it's like if you thought shit was crazy before, like you have no idea where it's going to go, kind of situation. Like maybe they're like aliens and time travel and dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Like that could be where this goes. And I think like this movie in that way does a good job of setting up a trilogy. If you're aware there's a trilogy on the horizon, okay, if you're aware that like all these threads are going to be picked up, or at least there's an opportunity for them to be taken somewhere and something cool to be done with them, and you know, maybe even a spin on one of the characters we love. Who knows, someone else might be turning a heel. You know, what if Ludacris gets a better offer? I'm just saying, like, you just never know. And I think, you know, they might have done a very clever thing without us realizing, is like, let's sort of give them what they want, okay, which is what I loved, which is like the fan service stuff, which I think they pulled off really well, because from here on out, like, you know, we might lose them, or
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to really be testing the waters, I think, in
We're
the next
pivoting
couple.
hard here. Yeah.
Right. Like space, that's nothing. Like,
Well, so I think to that end, I think that you're saying, you know, they're like, it's a trail of breadcrumbs kind of. I think this is what, you know, what Joe has been saying for multiple laps now, that they, if not listen to the fans, at least leave themselves room for outs. Like they just give themselves opportunities to build off of. And I do think, and I hope it's not the case, although it would be kind of, it could be cool, I don't know. But I do think that they really, truly, viably leave a path open from this movie that there's shit from the future. Cypher refers to Project Ares, or maybe Ramsey, as something that shouldn't exist for 50 years, right?
Cypher,
like, it's it's crazy. And then Tej is like, I can't find anywhere you find magnets these strong.
Yep.
And so there's multiple things in this world that they just can't explain, but just works. And so I do think whether that continues or not, they have left themselves the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, we laid the breadcrumbs. It's definitely future tech. It's like, why? What?
Yeah, you know, I think a really fun scene, I think maybe my favorite scene of the movie, is the Roman scene, right, where he's like, y'all ever realize like we ain't got a scratch on us, okay? Like everything we go through, like that was so fucking, like I thought that was so clever to just come out as these filmmakers and say, we get it, we know now that you know that we know this, like let's just put it to rest, or like maybe we'll actually explain this, okay? And like that's going to be part of the fun of what's happening, because we're aware of, you know, Brixton and like all the shit going on with that, and like, you know, we've talked about earlier if like Dom's been injected without realizing it, or who knows what's been going on with behind the scenes sort of shenanigans and things like that. We still don't know if Cypher's a robot. She doesn't seem to have any emotions except for anger, really, and that could just be her sort of like short fusing or something like that. But I just thought that was great, because, you know, now that was a question and now it's put to rest, and like that's an answer that you get, and now moving forward we could just like have more fun with like thinking about cool stuff like that. I don't know. I really dug that moment. I had a lot of fun with that.
Well, I think that there's another possibility. So, like, Roman does talk about being invincible or whatever. I'm also wondering, like, maybe they're just like Looney Tunes. There's the scene where for all intents and purposes, like the Jeep lands on him, right? And the movie plays deadly serious, and they're just like the sound goes out, and Tej and Ramsey are looking at him like, oh my god, he just died.
I thought that he did die in the first viewing of this. I was like, they fucking killed off Tyrese in this movie. Like I was like, how did that not get out that like somebody huge in this movie dies?
I thought that might have been the punchline to the payoff of that scene, but it wasn't. You know, it kind of was and it wasn't. It's like, holy shit, he's dead. Like they really are vulnerable. But then it's like, oh wait, no, it missed them. Maybe they are invincible. So like it was just, I really thought that was pretty funny too. But
well,
you know,
Yeah, because the way that he staggers out, like the reason I started Looney Tunes is like because it feels like an anvil or a safe just
Yes.
fell on
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny or
Yep.
someone. He just like
Right.
stumbles out drunkenly, just like oh, like and also I would love like a Space Jam esque thing with Roman, but like not Tyrese, but with Roman specifically, where it's like him and Elmer Fudd or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't there
God.
a scene in here? There was a scene in here where Cypher was like talking about stuff, maybe just about like her philosophy of life or something like a moment like that. But like, I almost thought to myself, did the character like hack her reality and figure out she's a character in a movie or something? Like, is that where we're going? Can it be like some kind of shit like that ends up happening? Like dimension hopping sort of thing where we're going to get alternate versions of the family banding together at the end of part 3 in some multiverse war of realities.
I don't know,
I don't
Mike,
know.
but I like
I
where
don't
you're going with this. It's fun. Your brain definitely unlocked. Just keep rolling with it, brother.
Well, the Tokyo Drift crew, I mean, standing ovation for the surviving members
So-
of Tokyo Drift.
We're watching the movie yesterday, and in the theater, I have, again, this was the most diverse crowd walking out of a theater. There was like 2 old ladies by themselves together. Then there was like a couple groups of families, like a couple with a newborn, just like very diverse crowd. Directly beside me on the right was this woman with her 2 sons. And when she saw Sean and Earl and Bow Wow, she goes, "Oh my God, it's them! They're back!" And like, I was like, the mom was really into it, and I was like, so like this this like middle-aged woman is like a really big fan of Tokyo Drift with like her 2 sons. It was like, and then she was like answering their questions, like as they would be like, "Who is that?" She's like, it's Bow Wow from Tokyo Drift," and I was like, what world are we living in? Like, this is such a beautiful thing to see that the franchise had like this older mom fan of Tokyo Drift.
You got a BD Wapfy her in real life.
Maybe we aren't for you because like you have kid. It was just like a weird thing, but I was like, yeah, what the hell? She's the one over here explaining this to her 2 boys and was hype on these guys.
Well, I mean, Tokyo Drift's what, like 15 years old now, so like maybe she saw it in high school and like loved it and
Maybe,
kept
yeah.
watching it or something and was like, when are they bringing them back? Like we are, like when are they coming back?
I don't think your math adds up there, Mike. 15
Okay.
years ago in high school, like I wasn't even high school 15. Like I you know what I mean? Like I think that, but yes, I appreciate you have math like the Fast and Furious has math. Like, it's just,
Exactly.
like, it
Yes,
doesn't
yes,
really
yes.
add up. You're probably at least a decade off, but like you're trying, and that's all that matters.
It's the Rocky math, right? It's the math in that reality where like the kid keeps aging like too much between movies and things. Like that's where I first noticed that kind of thing happening. But where no Neela, like there's a big question. Who's the new DK? Like was Sean sort of run out of Tokyo?
Yeah, who has the belt right now? We talked about this
Yeah.
with Brian, right? Like somebody had to beat Sean to become the new DK. That could be a whole that could be a whole nother Tokyo Drift.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say
complete
it could honestly
spin-off.
be anybody because like anybody could beat Sean. It's just
Yeah.
It was Neela. It was probably her. Like once DK was like out of the picture.
it's probably Dom. We
Oh,
talked
good
about
call.
that, right? Like it
Yeah.
could be
Oh.
Dom. He beat Sean, won his respect, and then just left Tokyo.
Oh, do you think he like dismantles the title, like the reign? Like he's like, now that I've won, I'll be the last DK. Like no more.
And he
no,
retires
maybe.
it. Yeah.
You can't have back-to-back Gaijins winning, right? And then I don't know.
Guess
kind
you're
of
right.
kind of tarnishes the title. But isn't okay? So didn't somebody recently tell us the actress that played Neela was like, "I'm not going to be back in these ever again" or something? Am I making that up?
That sounds right. That Natalie Kelly she did not want to be back. Hold on.
I'm just saying, just to answer Mike's question of like the technicality of why Neela's not in it is, I think she was just like, "I'm done with Fast and the Furious movies."
All right. I guess if like the original, if the director can't get you back, no one can.
Yeah, I don't know. What else, Mike? What else you have on your brain list?
Well, like I just love just building a little more on the Tokyo crew. Like what we get is great. Like I love how sort of jacked up on sugar they are, and like insane. Like they are truly insane now. Like those guys are like straight out. Like talk about Looney Tunes, Joey. Like, this is Wile E. Coyote strapping a giant firecracker to his
You're
back
right.
with roller skates on him, trying to chase the Roadrunner. Like, this is that damn scene, you know, and it's great. I freaking love it, and I just love how sort of mental those guys have gotten between movies. And it's like, oh yeah, you know, when you don't like sort of check in on someone in 10 years or something, and then like
They can really go off the deep end.
yeah, now they're messing with like jet fuel and stuff, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I mean, maybe Sean, because like his dad was military. Twinkie laying around, like, what's he been up to? I love the Jordan shout out on his beer, though.
I want to know the backstory to this, because they said that they tell us that this was his idea. Like, he's the reason why they have the ability to
Wait, who's
be
he?
a Twinkie. Because he says, like, if it wasn't for me, you would just be an engineer, and like you would just be a mechanic. Like, I'm the reason why we are here now.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's implying that like Twinkie's now the most successful one out of all of them. Like, did he like become an
Okay.
entrepreneur, somehow let them have this business, or like is he like, did he use his connections to get them the airspace part of
Okay.
this thing? And that's what I want to know, because he says it so casually, but I'm like, you're like a giant linchpin in this somehow, that he's like the actual like money behind this.
I think that's exactly it. I think we're supposed to believe that he hustled sneakers in high school, and now he's sort of amassed a fortune somehow, retired, cashed
Yeah.
in, maybe the .com craze. I don't know. I don't know about my math again. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like, he became the entrepreneur and the money man, and he's backing them, and they went from the garage to, you know, the airport, basically. It's like now they're out there on the launch pad.
Yeah, I want to see that movie. Like, where's Twinkie's trajectory? That's what I want to know.
Well, yeah, like
Damn.
Tokyo Drift 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Figure that. That's what I'm saying. Write some books. Like, someone get out there, write these books, fill
The
in some of the.
novelizations. Yeah.
But like, you know, not even like novelizations per se, because this won't be retracking these movies. That, you know, I'm talking about like what they.
Oh, yeah,
did.
filling in the gaps. Yeah.
Yeah, like creating a whole series in books and stuff. Like, they sort of did that with Star Wars before Disney bought them. There was like that whole expanded universe between movies that went on in the books and stuff, and they're redoing that. I just think it's kind of a clever way for fans to just, you know, not stop eating the content. All right. Like, just, you could just keep devouring like all this information about these guys. You could do a whole book about Brian and Roman growing up together, and like that whole incident, like make that, you know, 150 pages or 230 pages or whatever, and, you know, $8. So
I think the problem is that you don't make $1 billion on a book.
I don't know.
Unless that
know.
book is the Bible.
I mean, it's originally you couldn't, but now in this climate and with Fast and Furious being the size of a franchise it is globally, I think you might be able to, you know, I think you could. I think you could get away with trying it. I mean, they're doing cartoons, that kind of thing. They're doing spin-offs already. I think it would be a smart thing to do.
By the way, if you want to talk about books, check out How to Win the Lottery every other Thursday here.
There you go.
We'll cover a Fast and Furious book. Why not?
I would definitely join for that, for sure.
Read it every lap, Joe.
I would.
I loved Farmer Don. Reminds me of like Farmer John, but like it's Farmer Dom. Really funny how they made him like totally just like analog on the farm, like furthest thing
No
away
phones.
from. Yeah,
nothing.
like just off the grid. Even though they found him immediately, like his friends still knew exactly. Like, that was a riot. I mean, that was like, there's no way. You know, they were trying to fool you and be like, "Oh, someone found them," and it's like, there's no way it's not like his friends. But like, why are you hiding from your friends? Like, it was a little strange, but I don't know. I like the visual look of him on the farm and stuff, and you know, too bad we didn't get a chasing tractor scene or things like that.
So we don't know where that takes place. Justin had written it and said that it took place, that was filmed in Thailand. I was saying, I think it takes place in Mexico, but they go to Mexico. So they don't ever say where that is. I would just assume it's a country with no extradition, but I wonder if we're going to go back there. Like, I feel like now that they're on the run, maybe they don't. Not that they're not on the run, but like now that they're back in the shit, right? Because like this is like they got out of their retirement for this, right? So.
But they end up at the end of the movie back at the house being rebuilt, so it's like
1327, yeah.
True.
But also, you guys know, like, they've introduced fictional countries now into the series, right? Like, they don't go, from what I heard, is they don't go to a real country in South America. They have to, like, fictionalize the title.
Right, you heard that on our podcast.
Yeah, I'm saying, that's where I heard it.
You know what,
So,
I've heard.
I just think, like, again, that's a very smart way to be like, this is an alternate universe. This is not the reality we live in. And that is why maybe these guys can take more damage and these cars exist and the God's Eye is a thing and, unlimited resources for, like, small militant groups and things like that. Shadow governments putting people back together with, like, microscience and things. Yeah, so I wish there was a little more of that, though. But I'm saying that maybe that's where Dom is. Like, he might be in another sort of fictional place that they've yet to want to name or anything like that. Like, it could not be an actual country.
Maybe. I also wonder now, just, and I didn't think about this till just now, but I wonder if not naming it just means, like, it's not important. Like, it's a place that isn't, that's just that's off the grid, literally off the grid or whatever, right? So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more like just a safe out that's just like, we're not going to piss anybody off. But I do like Mike's theory that we're in an alternate reality now, and we've bent the timeline, and aliens are running shit. That's the best. That's the best version of this.
I really did like the visuals and the kind of way they did the space stuff. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. Like, the car in space reminded me. I think wasn't it like an old commercial there was like an old commercial where, like, a car dropped down into the atmosphere or something like that, or I don't know. There was a video,
like a weird Mazda commercial, right?
Yeah, and I almost wondered if that drop scene from Fast and Furious is it 7 where they go out of the, is it 6 or 7?
It's 7.
Yeah, I almost wondered if that was, like, inspired by that old video, and I'm not even sure how old it is exactly or whatever. But I just love the sort of image of car in space. Like, that was really
free falling car from the sky, yeah.
And also just kind of in orbit, floating around and everything. And, like, again, like, I really thought when they said we're going to space, it was going to be like Moonraker or something ridiculous, Star Wars, like lasers and just, like, too much too soon. They reached the tip of the like the upper atmosphere, right? I think they went like 50 miles up or something, or 60 miles up. I think, like, it's not like they're halfway to the moon again. Like I said, like I said to Brian on the way home, I was like, I'm so glad that, like, the movie didn't end with them just having, like, a toast on the moon.
A drift race on the moon.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's where it's heading, though. It could have been funny if they, like, landed on the moon and then, like, walked up and saw someone was there and it turned around and it was Mr. Nobody.
Tire tracks.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's, like, that was one of our big takeaways. It's like they did space, like, they've been talking about space for, like, or we've been talking about space, like, the fans have been talking about space forever, and, like, they did it in an earnest way that wasn't like a cop out, but also doesn't have to be like where we live now forever, right? Like, it's just it makes sense to a certain extent, as much as anything in the series makes sense.
I think that they did it in a good way too, because, like, I don't feel like we need to go back to space now. It's not pivotal for the story going forward. It was like a nice little tongue-in-cheek thing for the fans, but at the same time, they're like, okay, you got your space. Now we get back to the story. It's out of our system, but we're not, like, going to wind up on Mars like we're worried about, right? So
yeah, I have a feeling they might end up on an actual, like, I wouldn't be upset or surprised if in the last one, like, they actually start doing that. Like, they do end up having to, like, take down a killer satellite, not a satellite, but, like, the whole space station. Or, again, like, I don't even want to start speculating too much, because I'll just, like, I want to go back to what I was saying earlier, was, like, I don't think we're going to be able to guess where it goes, even though we all, again, say, like, dinosaurs, and that became, like, a huge kind of talking point when this got released. And, like, I know when the movie started, we were treated to, like, a bit of Jurassic Park 3, and it really just feels like they want the, like, talk and chatter to happen so that they can have, like, sort of permission from the fans to do it or something. Like, that's where it's, I don't know, but, like, that's sort of, like, the feeling I'm starting to get is, like, oh, they're listening to the fans now about things like space, and they're sort of feeling it and testing it out and stuff, and now it's like, what else are the fans saying? And it's like, well, let's, like, sort of feed them a couple ideas and see which ones stick, you know? And it's like, oh, someone said dinosaur, and, like, now everyone's freaking out. Like, maybe we can do this. Maybe they'll accept it.
I mean, I don't know that anything has been, like, ruled out, right? Like, it's like anything could go. In the half an hour or whatever we've been talking, you've already talked about, like, cloning, like, multiverse, like multiplicity Fast and Furious, which is something that we've never talked. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those kind of things where it's like, they haven't said no, right? And, like, we're nearing the end of this proverbial runway, but there's also still, like, a lot of time to figure that kind of stuff out. So I genuinely don't know I don't know that anything is not on the table. I think whatever they want to do could happen.
And we still but there's still characters to explore, like Mama Toretto, right? I know, like,
They said
people
that,
are
yeah.
sort of like talking about that. You know, what would be amazing is like, I mean, just to sort of scratch the surface of what they could do with something like time travel is like this whole time running around in the background, there could be two Jacobs and us not even know it for another movie and a half or something. Like that would be insane. Him sort of doing a Marty McFly.
Or a Loki thing to be much more modern about it, right?
Yeah, but like coming from the last movie back into this movie to sort of like tool around and do things, and like maybe that was him on the zip line because he ziplined way too much, like for a human eye to sort of register that had to be more than one Jacob. It's just like so much fun to include like this canon into like those ideas and like take it to those places and stuff.
Are you guys ready for my big theory?
Hit us.
My big thing that I discovered.
Hit
Yes,
us with it,
totally.
please.
One of the new characters in the movie is Otto, right? And we don't know
Yes.
Otto's first name. We don't know if that's his first name or his last name. But at the end, he's wearing like a tactical vest at one point. I don't know if it's when Cypher, sides with him or whatever, but it says Otto. And so generally you're not going to put like, I mean, you could, but I would imagine it's probably a last name, but we don't know. We don't know anything about his family name, whatever, but it's Otto, right?
Okay.
So in the flashback, in the garage, in the scene after Dom's dad dies on the track, and Dom and
Kenny
Jacob are
Linder
walking through the
scene.
garage before Kenny Linder. Yeah, before that, they're in the garage talking to Buddy, who, by the way, Buddy's last name is Hubbard. Doesn't matter. Not a name, but I just made a note of it. Buddy Hubbard. Okay. On a car in the garage, there is a name that reads, like above the door, like where the driver's name is or whatever, Ryan, and then in quotes, Bama, B-A-M-A, like Alabama, Ryan Bama Otto.
Spelled the same way?
Spelled the same way, O-T-T-O. I'm guessing this is just a coincidence. I'm guessing that nobody else is like looking at this thing for like little details, but like, and I also don't know how Otto, the son of a diplomat, would fit into the death of Dom's father.
In a foreign dignitary.
It's weird as hell to have two different people, even though one's not on screen, two different people named Otto introduced in the same movie.
That is
Very
crazy.
fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, because like I'm sitting there with my fucking Gone in 60 Seconds villain logic going, oh, they named him Otto but they spelt it, it's not A-U-T-O, it's
Right.
O-T-T-O.
Yes,
and I was like,
exactly.
They think that's the sort of joke about his name and everything. And then my mind, while you were saying that, Joey, as you were saying, I was like, oh, is he like a sponsor? Is it? But this implies that there was a driver with that name. Could be crazy if it is like a very distant relative, that sort of prodigal son, sort of
Cousin.
like shed the life, didn't want to be rich and famous, tried to make it on his own as like a race car driver, went out to America and then eventually got like called back home like Shang-Chi and the Rings of Destiny or whatever that movie is. But like that whole idea of like now he has gone back into his family of like evil land owning Eurotrash or whatever.
That's so weird, man.
That would be amazing.
I'm trying to figure out who it could be. Like, it'd have to be, like, that Otto's uncle, right? Like, if he's the same age as Jacob now, and his dad is still, for all intents and purposes alive, a dignitary, there would have to be, like, his uncle, maybe his older brother, but then that would put him, like, much older, and his dad would kind of be thrown off.
Plus, what is his motivation aside from sort of pissing off his family or like not needing to rely on his dad's money anymore? Is like he wants to control, like
He wants to take over the world.
Yeah, they need the devices so that they can control the entire, like everything that happens on the planet and hold it ransom and hostage and all that kind of. I don't know. To be honest, like that doesn't really feel like a Jacob kind of thing, but it makes it makes a weird kind of sense just in like a supervillain sense, I guess. Like it feels like a Cypher thing for sure. It feels like this is all just her long con, some kind of end game that she's sort of playing Jacob and Otto. I mean, she is playing them against each other in this movie. We see that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if she was, like, had this kind of plan with Mr. Nobody from the beginning, where it's like, let's fake the plane crash or whatever, or, like, try and get us hijacked. I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know. My mind is going all over the place trying to figure it out.
It would be such, like, a weird, twisted logic to, like, have that wrap around to be anything of meaning, but, like, they're standing and talking by a car that has the word Otto written on it. And it's just like, I don't Maybe it's coincidence.
Maybe
but
it's coincidence.
it
I hope that
feels
you're right, and you could just
weird.
unlock the whole fucking thing.
There's just so much attention to detail in those flashbacks. Like, come on, when Dom is in prison and we're introduced to the brothers, like, what? Like, I lost my shit when those guys from Part 5 showed up in prison. I was like, what?
Leo and Santos.
Yeah,
Leo
yeah.
Santos.
And then, when he's released from prison and we're at the street race and we see the entire crew from Part 1 that's like, de-aged and stuff, out of focus, but like we
Minus
recognize
Leon,
them,
but
right?
yes.
Yeah, but like we could recognize them from their wardrobe because we've seen Part 1 so many times.
Yep.
Like, there's so much attention to detail in those scenes, Joey, that like I think you've got to be onto something. That has to be like some kind of Easter egg where it's like the eagle-eyed viewers are now theorizing and coming up with conspiracies about possibilities that, and like we're a breadcrumb, like like you said.
Nobody's watching these movies like we are, and I'm not even sure that like I don't know that it's good or bad. I'm like I wonder if this means anything, because it's the kind of thing that's so small and insignificant that I would be surprised if other people have written about it, but also like maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm just an idiot and this was like very obvious to everyone else, but I don't think that we got Dom's dad's name until this movie. Am I correct?
Oh,
It's Jack, right?
Yes, which makes a lot of sense for Brian and Mia to name their son Jack.
Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah.
But they never explicitly said that before this, right?
Well, we don't really know anything. Like we have no stories about the dad other than that one conversation in that first movie. Yeah.
And he doesn't say his name, like my
I
dad
don't think so.
Jack. He was
No.
like,
Jack Toretto. Does one of the cops say it to Brian, like "son of Jack Toretto"? Or I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
I was stunned that they didn't stunt cast Jack Toretto. Like I was stunned that I didn't recognize this actor. I thought he was a great actor. I like eventually.
No, he's a guy. He's the star of Mayans MC. We looked him up last time, or maybe it was on the Fast and Furious
okay.
episode. So he's kind of known because in our spoiler-filled episode, we said that we didn't think that Michael Rooker was going to play a huge role or whatever because, like, I don't know how we would factor in. Then our guest last time, Corey, was like, you don't get a guy like Michael Rooker and then
Who's
not bring him
huge
back.
in the
Yeah,
MCU.
yeah, that's a 3-picture deal. Exactly.
And so maybe, but then we're like, to certain people, like people who watch Sons of Anarchy and Mayans MC, like that guy who plays, and I don't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays his dad is like, oh my
fucking
god, I can't believe they
huge.
got him in this movie. But
Yeah.
to us, it's just like, oh yeah, like if you haven't seen that one thing, I don't know.
That makes sense, and it's sort of like a show within the sort of framework of the culture, where it's sort of like a lot of like danger on wheels and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
it fits.
that.
It fits. The
Yeah.
audience's demographics are largely overlapped, I would say.
But yeah, I loved all that stuff. I was actually quite surprised how much they were gonna. I thought we were just gonna get the opening part. I didn't think we were gonna see the incident, as it were.
No.
I didn't think we were gonna see, more like the street race between bros to see who runs this town. Like all this stuff was great. Like that was such a secret to me, like I'd seen the trailer and everything, but there's no way they let any of that slip. So I had not read anything about the movie, after it got delayed. I just like sort of went into like lockdown about the movie and everything like that. I don't know how else to put it. But like, yeah, I thought they did a great job of not spoiling any of that flashback prequel kind of stuff. I don't know what else. I guess the other thing is that they got Sean Wingham back for one scene.
Stasiak, yep.
The
Wingham, yep.
hardcore fans,
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
I
strictly
appreciated
for
it.
us and like everybody else that like listens to this, because we got like a lot of emails like Stasiak was back, and I'm like, that's one that I promise nobody else really caught. Like that's with the broken nose. Like that's a deep
Well,
cut.
they had to do that to sell it. So otherwise, I think it was just another guy. But like, if you can sort of track his history as a character, yeah, he's got his nose broke like three times or something like that.
Yeah.
throughout the series. So I guess he's figured like, why fix it at this point? It's just gonna get broke again.
Brian's gonna break it again. Yeah.
Dude, speaking of Brian, how did you feel about the final shot
Oh,
of
I
the
almost
movie?
cried like the first time I knew, like, it was something that we talked about, that like it was spoiled, like it was in the trailer, but like last night I was just like, oh no, that's the thing that I might, depending on how it goes in the future, but that might make me tear up in like every time we watch this.
I got a little welled up when Dom says, one time a guy gave me a 10-second car. Like when he did that this time, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I thought it was a great note to end on, and it just made me want to watch the next one immediately, right? And I feel like
Yes.
that's what you need to do with this is like be sort of exhilarated and kind of exhausted at the end, and then go like, no, but wait, I want more now.
Yes.
Now I've got like a second wind, especially if we're gonna get like shades of Brian coming back and stuff. Like I don't even care if he's only in like one scene in the beginning. Like it's just like great, like cool. As much as you're gonna do, like
I'm
I'm
excited to
with it.
see him back, and I think it would be cool for his. I think that we've now hit a point, and with them doing it like this, that if he is back and played by his brother in the next one, it's not going to feel out of touch.
Here's where I'm coming from. They don't even need to digitally do his face like they don't need to have to digitally do his face, like just recast him as his brother and like deal with it, you know what I'm saying? Just let
Yeah.
it be like they look close enough to begin with, plus it's family also, you know. I mean, I don't feel like they have to do the digital mask stuff.
Like he's old enough that they've like aged enough to be similar.
Yeah, this is Brian now, like let's just roll with it. It's all up to them, you know what I'm saying, as far as like what they feel will be respectful. As a viewer, it doesn't seem like macabre or wrong or anything in a weird way where it was like, we're going to bring back, I don't know, like Humphrey Bogart to be in a movie next year or something, you know,
Yeah.
like that seems much worse where it's like, let's like bring someone back from the dead and like give them a whole movie and like all this shit. And it's like that doesn't really sit well with me as much as just like paying sort of respect to like this person and this character, and if it works for the story, that's what it comes down to, I guess.
Joe, what did you notice this time around? What were your big takeaways? Anything that you noticed, or did you say everything in conversation already?
I threw a bunch of them in. One of the last ones that I have, I really like that in this one at the barbecue, they have a callback to the forehead joke, because I know how much that makes Rachel laugh, how much she likes that. You better hide that big ass forehead. They make it like Tyrese makes another forehead joke in this one, and it just felt really, really nice. Like in that moment, it was just like another callback that like I really noticed this time enough to like be like, oh yeah, like that's fucking awesome.
Well, that's one of two hungries that we get too.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that was so fun.
When they have the shot where you see Jacob, like you get like they show you like the wheel and his foot getting out of the door, and then they have Jacob standing there like with binoculars or something, like looking down at Dom, like when they're like running through the minefields. In that moment, Jacob has his cross necklace like over the back of his shoulder,
Yes.
and it's like there's never a world that this would happen in, but like for the framing of the shot, it's like, oh, this is really badass.
Yes.
But then I thought about it logically, and I'm like, there's no way you get out of the car and your chain's like half draped over your shoulder and you don't just like move it down just naturally to be like, this feels weird.
I love that shot, and I'm watching the movie and I go, oh, that was definitely like a previs kind of drawing or whatever. Like, you know, we need a bunch of like ideas to introduce Jacob for the first time. It's like, all right, and like a bunch of guys like gave like, you know, a drawing or something like that, like doing production art and
Yes.
things, and that's how it feels, where it's like, oh, this is fucking badass. He's got his chain draped over his shoulder and shit, and
It's like the cover to a comic book or something, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's so graphic, and yeah, you're so right. Like, it's so unnatural.
it's so unnatural. Like, this would never have happened in real life.
But it's great. It's a movie. You know, this
Yeah.
movie reminds you it's a movie so much. Like, and it's so much fun in so many fun ways. Like, the action is just like this action is just like unbelievable. Like, I can't even, you know, wrap my head around the craziness sometimes of what's going on. You know, Dom doing like a Tarzan swing with his car at one point, and
God,
then
I know.
flipping the like quadruple tractor trailer or whatever that tank vehicle thing
What do they
is. Like,
call it in Spy Racers, Joey? What is it called? The convoy?
Oh, no, it was something that I didn't remember. No, it was something that I thought it was something different. You're like, no, you idiot. Like I was like, I misheard a word, and it was something that made a lot more sense for it to be called. Let me see if I can find it.
Because we need to start calling that thing that, because it is the thing from Spy Racers. Like, if you haven't seen Spy Racers, they just have literally this vehicle that they drive around.
there was a cartoon when I was a kid, and it was a toy, and I'm from a million years ago. But like, do you know about this show Mask? Mask? And
No.
so like it was about these guys that had cars that would sort of half transform. They wouldn't turn into robots, but like they would turn into, they'd look just like the car that Tej and Roman were sort of going to space in, right? Like it would be driving on the ground and then it would sort of hit a button and it would grow like gull wings and like rockets and machine guns and stuff. And so I was totally expecting that vehicle to kind of like split apart into like 4 or 5 different vehicles that had like, one was sort of like airborne, one started digging underground, like one just like went really fast around the streets and things. And I don't know, I was like, that's definitely somewhere they could start going with their cars, is like, again, not having them turn into robots full on, although making them more tricked out, like a James Bond thing, or like, Daigoro's baby car even, where it's just like, like you hit a switch and it's like rockets, and you hit a switch and like, I feel like we need more of that Spy Hunter kind of gear. The post-credit scene, I guess that's the final thing that we have to address.
Oh, by the way, the people next to me last night like got up to leave. I'm like, there's a scene. They're like, what? Thanks, man. Like,
you did your civic duty. Great intro of Shaw. Almost called him Hobbs there for a minute. Thought the knock at the door was definitely going to be The Rock. I got to tell you, like when Han was there, I was like, huh? And now I'm not sure what he's doing there. Like, was Shaw in on it? Did nobody contact him knowing that Cypher had him by the balls and was like, do this and I'll see what I can do? And he's like, all right, I want to play the game. I want to help my friends. I want to be on the right side, but Cypher's got me by the balls. I'm a bollocks. And he's like, Mr. Nobody's like, well, pretend to kill Han and we'll sort it out from there in the next movie. He's like, right on, mate. And I need to know what's going to happen.
I don't know. I mean, Deckard... I don't know. Again, this is the kind of thing where, like, in retrospect, things like the puzzle pieces might fall into place with what Dom knows, what Mr. Nobody knows, what Mr. Nobody's told people. I mean, they're just rewriting things all the time, right? So
yeah, because they could seriously be reintroduced having a beer together, laughing with a bunch of bruises on their face, going like, it's a good thing like we worked that out before like, we get called back into action or something. Like they could just like, I hope they don't. I hope it's like a really awesome like 5-minute long one-shot fight between the two of them that like falls down into the street and into pubs and like onto rooftops and stuff and has to be broken up by like The Rock. But like, I just don't. I mean, again, like I can't wait. I need to know.
It's such a weird thing because like it being a post-credit scene based on the other ones that we've seen, like they were like Letty's still alive, Deckard killed, like Jason Statham killed Han. These are like what we're working with beforehand. So for this one to come in, it's like this has to be something really monumental, but like I really can't place where they're trying to go with this. Like it's not very overt. Like it doesn't.
Well,
it's not...
Wes messaged us before we started recording that he's been listening to that Entertainment Weekly binge podcast and he's sending some stuff for that we're going to read in future episodes of the mailbag. But apparently, when asked about this, Sung Kang said one word: Giselle, and like that doesn't make any sense. Like that's I don't know what that means either. Like I don't know. So
it doesn't help at all. It's like okay, cool. Like is he trying to get vengeance for Giselle or?
Well, maybe they'll be fighting and he'll like be about to kill Shaw, and Shaw's like Giselle's alive, and like chokes it out of him or something. And he's like, what? It's good to like Bucky's still alive.
Is there any timeline here that we see that Gal Gadot doesn't come back to this?
I don't think so. I think she's definitely coming back for the grand finale. I think the curtain call, they're getting everybody, everybody that wants to. I think, they're going to, call Hector in and be like, give him a bazooka. He's going to be like, I've been waiting, homie. Like, I've been waiting by the phone for like 10 years.
I think the Gal is going to wind up at least in the last one, and at least like in like a couple scenes. Like it's not going to be like, maybe she doesn't need to be there the whole time, but like by the end in the final battle, she has to be involved, right?
It could be smart to reintroduce her in the female spinoff. That would be awesome.
Then they need to change the time again. It would need to be set like between 6 and 7.
I mean, not if she's still alive. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah, again, they don't really, it's all fuzzy math in this world anyway. Like they live in a weird time warp to begin with. So like maybe someone's running a device close to the center of the earth that's screwing up the rotation of the planet, causing like people to age incorrectly on certain parts of the world. I don't know.
It's just that damn movie with the M. Night Shyamalan old movie on the beach. That's what it is.
They've hit the old beach too many times.
Yeah.
Joe, in Spy Racers, it's called The Hauler. H-A-U-L-E-R.
Hauler. Okay.
Which I
that's
thought was
what
called
it
the
is.
Holler, H-O-L-L-E-R, like in Justified, but no, the Hauler. So
Yeah.
I don't like that. It's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
I thought it was a cooler name than that. It's
Same.
not. Dom and Letty not wearing seatbelts when they swing across the lack of a bridge, which is interesting.
Oh,
I thought it
good
was kind of
point.
funny that Mia has to get to the Caspian Sea by herself. Like, they all go to this middle of nowhere place, like, Mr. Nobody's secret hideaway, and then Mia just shows up alone. It's like, you got here by yourself? Like, why didn't anyone help you? Like, just, not that
Yeah.
she needs help, but just like, hey, we're all going to go together, and like, Mia, you can just catch up later. It's just like, no, that doesn't.
It's a
doesn't
hidden
fair.
bunker in the middle of the Caspian Sea. Like, did she just drive a boat there by herself? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, give her kind of like more of a fun reintroduction. Well, I guess she was doing Brian stuff and like couldn't.
Well, Brian's doing babysitting stuff. I don't know. When they're doing Project Ares and they have that simulation that shows like the world being conquered, it seems to originate in like Atlanta or Nashville, like sort of southern, but not like Florida or
Really?
Texas, but like sort of like in that area. So I don't know if that's just like a simulation or maybe we're going to go there at some point. I don't know. Go back to Ludacris's backyard. I have no idea. So here's another thing about Otto. So Otto says his Interpol friends, which we realize is Cardi B and stuff. So maybe he's tied in there somehow. I don't know. Because Cardi also in that scene mentions, quote, how fine her ass looks in a white dress. So she was at the party.
She was at the party.
Otto basically says that everyone there is on his payroll. There's just
No.
possibly more in play there with Otto as well.
I think it was more of like it was a double cross that he thought that everybody there was on his payroll, but ultimately like the allegiance to Dom from Cardi is greater because of their sister relationship. Like Otto
Yeah.
just doesn't
Yeah.
know this. That's how I read it.
Right, because Dom knows her, not her, but
Dominican.
No, he knows her from. I think he knows her from the DR because he says Kara's
Yeah.
little sister done good or whatever.
yeah, and Kara was a character in a previous movie, right?
In Los Bandoleros in the beginning of 4.
So
Yeah.
that is just an insane deep cut that I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's like, what?
Yeah, Wes caught that one, not me, man. But
Oh
yeah.
man, like that's the kind of shit I appreciate, and that's the attention to detail, man. So like, it's like going back and trying to find not even like necessarily the best places to insert, but like just kind of like the most fun, sort of obscure like ways to bring someone in and out like that.
Mhm.
I liked learning that about the Cardi B character, even if I didn't really pick it up in the moment. I was like, oh, okay, well then that's cool. It's more like Elle is maybe the one character I have the most problem with in the entire movie, because she's like,
Why?
yeah, she's like not even really a person. She's just a thing. She's just an activation device, really. And like, I just think that's too messy.
They're
Right.
gonna make her a bigger character, I'm sure.
They did a great job expanding on Ramsey's character. She's fitting in very well, and the actor seems very comfortable.
In the flashback in the garage at 1327, where Jack is talking to Dom and Jacob about the most important things in life and treating cars well or whatever, Mia nowhere to be found. And I was just thinking about it, like how in Hobbs and Shaw, Owen nowhere to be found. Like maybe she's just not around, but it's just like, oh, there's this whole family moment and Mia not there.
Yeah.
So
When the dad is killed and Dom goes to prison, Jacob goes to live with Buddy, but not
Yes.
home with Mia and his actual mom.
well, no, because Dom's there.
No, but Dom's in prison.
That's after Dom kicks Jacob out.
Oh, he didn't just skedaddle immediately. He hung around at
Yes.
No, yeah, no. When Dom's in
Yes.
prison, Jacob's living it up. Like he's
With Mia.
king shit. Yeah,
I
he's like,
gotcha,
he's
right.
out of the shadow of his older brother, and then that's when that's why he's like winning these races and whatever. That's when Dom comes back and is like,
Okay.
He says, "You win." You come back home, you leave, you don't stop driving.
Okay, so the
Or you
thing
lose,
that
you don't stop driving.
Okay, right. So I guess the thing I'm missing is like the sit down between siblings where they kind of just like streamlined it for me a little, because we get this information from a lot of different characters like distantly. So like when Buddy is telling Dom that Jacob crashed at my place for a while, my mind went to right when you went to prison,
Yeah,
he went to
yeah.
Buddy's, but that's not what happened.
No, he's there for a year
yeah,
after
got
Dom beats him in the race.
And how long was Dom in prison for again?
2 years.
2 years in Lompoc, I ain't never going back.
2 years.
Even though
okay.
it looks like he's got a great thing going on there.
Yeah, he's working in the motor pool. Like no one's messing with him. He's making friends.
He seems like he's fine, yeah.
The only other note that I have is that, my favorite character name in any of these movies is exceedingly handsome guy in Tokyo Drift, the race starter. There's someone in this, and I don't know who it is, credited, I don't remember if it's a man or a woman, credited as Ferocious Professional, which I was just like, that's a fucking cool ass character name. Like in the closing credits, I was just like looking and seeing, if there's anything I could glean. I was like, and like the last build person before like a gap and there's like other nonsense or whatever is ferocious professional. I was like, okay, pretty cool.
Speaking of names, Queenie is Mother Shaw's
Yes.
first name. That's official because I
I
thought
think it's her nickname.
We've known that for a couple of movies though. Like that's not new.
No, I know that they've been calling her Queenie, but I thought that it was like she's saying that's actually that's my actual name. Like my name is Queenie Shaw.
Her name is Magdalene. Magdalena.
Oh, okay.
Magdalene.
I definitely forgot that, and that's not until part 8, right? That she comes into the picture.
Well, she doesn't come in until 8. She's only in 8, Hobbs, and 9. She's the only one that's in those 3 movies.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. Well, I like that she's Queenie now. She's got a code name or whatever. Like she's going by that.
Joe, any other thoughts? You want to play a game?
I think we should play a game.
Cool. Actually, Mike, do you have new rankings for us? You don't have to. If you have new rankings, you can. If you don't, that's also fine.
I actually do. I don't quite remember what my old rankings were, but I have new rankings for you if you'd like.
Yes, please. Hit us with it.
Okay, and I feel like these are pretty similar to the old ones. So I go 3. Gotta just can't.
Wait, at the top?
Can't stop right now with part 3, especially after watching this movie. I put 3 at the top.
3 was your 4th one last time.
Oh, wow. Shifting gears.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Then we got 2.
Well, that went from 7 to 2.
Wow. Well,
Okay.
that's how much I ended up liking Roman. Then 1.
Wait, is this? Yeah, this is the right line. That was your 8th favorite one, Mike. Mike, what is going on here?
I don't know, man. Everything is becoming recontextualized, and I've been watching, ones in, from time to time, and then we got 6.
That was your first. Okay.
Okay. Then we got 4.
Okay.
Wow.
there.
So that was 6. So you still don't have 5 in here. This is wild.
Oh, wait. I don't. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. 5 is first. That is crazy. 5 is first. I'm sorry. I wrote over it. I scribbled it out.
Okay, because that was your number 2 before. Okay, so that
Apologies.
slides everything down. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Okay, yeah. 5, 3, 2, 1, 6, 4,
Yep.
9, baby.
Okay.
Then 7.
That was 5th. Okay.
Then Hobbs and Shaw.
Which was 3rd.
Okay, and then 8. Which
was your last one before.
Okay, all right. Wild. Crazy how much things have
You
changed.
scared me for a second. I was like, this
Sorry
is
about
complete.
that.
I mean, it's still largely completely different, but at least 5 is in its rightful place at the top of the list.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, audience, as well. Like, I didn't mean to give anybody a heart attack.
People like pulling over their cars, like having car confrontations on the highway.
I felt something was a little off with those. I was like, what's 3 number 1? Nah, fuck it. Maybe it was, but
Absolutely wild.
yeah, man, these are wild times.
So the only games, we're not going to play Dude, What's My Car? We're going to save that for the new guest episodes and the main episodes, but we are going to play This Ain't No 10-Second Race, aka Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You. So we're going twitter.com.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
Aka the Bird app. Find any tweet from any person who might like the podcast, respond to them with some kind of customized tweet that says, Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You, link to the show page with some hashtags. So I found, to review last time, the episode with Corey just last week, Kyle Buchanan, at Kyle Buchanan. Vin Diesel and Helen Mirren have incredible chemistry in F9. I believe their characters should have kissed, so I asked Mirren if she'd be willing. And I said, we need all the Helen Mirren / Queenie and Vin Diesel / Dom / fiction we can get in our life. Boy, do we
Have a
podcast for you. Nothing. Of course not. Joe, you found Brandon Ray at the Brandon Ray. F9 was the perfect movie for returning to theaters, completely batshit insane. It made no sense, was amazing. 10 out of 10. We could not agree more, Brandon. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. And then, as mentioned on the episode with Corey found Nick Nolan at Nick Nolan PhD. I'm doing it for my friends, but mostly my familia. I'm binge watching the Fast and Furious movies. I'm 3 days and 5 films in. I'm burning brain cells faster than Dom Toretto can drink a Corona. I have 0 regrets. We're so excited for you to be on this journey that you're on. Also, while we have no proof that Dom has ever finished a Corona, we do know how fast he starts them. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And we have 1. Hold on, Mike, you don't know how this game works.
Okay, why?
Delete that tweet that you just did.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, I don't. I forgot, you guys.
Please describe what this one is.
Okay, yeah, so there were a bunch of memes this week about family and Dom being inserted into a bunch of different movies, and they're all like a lot of fun and really clever, and I'm laughing a lot, but like I saw this before those were coming out, and this isn't a family tweet. This isn't like a meme in that way. So what it is it's the scene from the animated classic Disney movie The Lion King when Scar is throwing Mustafa off of the cliff to murder him. He lands on Dom's front hood of the car and gets pulled into the passenger seat and saved. And that is the sort of progression.
So I just said, boy, do we have a podcast for you, and I linked them to our show. Now, Joe, please hit us with yours.
I got Adila CH at Adila CSV. She said, I think it's, yeah, she says, watched F9 the other day. An absolute delight to watch Helen Mirren as Queenie. She is 75 and still breaking heart and berries to next level. From John Cena's debut to Cardi B's cameo, from action to emotional factors, loved every bit of it. Tags the Fast Saga, tags John Cena, tags Cardi B. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. We loved it too, and we talked all about it here. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. I tried to search for one that was like Fast 9 Otto, and it was just like 20 tweets that were like, Otto was definitely gay in that movie, right? And I was like, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a bunch of different people saying it.
I am going with Annette Miller at Try Hard Annette. I loved me some F9. They talked an awful lot about Giselle. If my baby isn't resurrected in 10, I don't want it.
Oh.
And then a gif of Giselle saying, any questions?
Oh, I like it.
Same, though we're contractually obligated to watch it. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Perfect.
It seems easy. It seems like this should be the time where everything happens.
And everybody replies to everything, yeah.
And yet,
nothing
doesn't seem to be the case.
Nope.
Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. You'll be back on not this upcoming, because the next episode that we're doing is a bonus episode for Patreon, but you'll be on our next Patreon bonus episode, the bonus episode for August, which we have not said yet what it is, but you'll be on that episode. So you'll be back before too long, at least for the people who kick over that sweet, sweet coin. But thank you for being here. What would you like to plug? What do you want to tell people about?
The new show, The Monsters That Made Us, with me and my co-host Dan Colon, where we are currently talking about all 31 of the original Universal monster movies. And we're going diving pretty deep into those and the history of that. And it's been a lot of fun. Currently, the episode out right now is Son of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the next one will be The Invisible Man Returns.
Ooh.
So things are going pretty well over there, having a lot of fun.
They can't get away from sequels even 100 years ago. Or
Dude,
years ago,
yeah,
it's all sequels. It's all sequels.
Dude, Son of Frankenstein's a great part 3. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's like 6 of these movies. No, there's not. There's more than that. But there's like 9 of these movies, and there's already 3 Frankensteins. It's like, guys, you have all the creatures in the world.
I know.
Wasn't that, what was that, like Mank or something? Isn't that what they did? And they like come in and they're like, it's a zombie guy, but he's also this, and they like write the movie while they're drunk. Wasn't it Mank, the Oscar movie that just came out?
Short for Mankiewicz. That's about writing Citizen Kane, I believe. I didn't see it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
They do like a pitch where like they're like, we have to come up with a new movie idea, and they're like, we have nothing, so they like get drunk and then like walk in and like write a monster movie. Like they do it like thought of consciousness. Like one person starts and they like keep passing the story around, and the guy's like, yeah, that works, good job. And like
the guy stands up and goes, I think you just invented improv.
Yeah.
Also, as always, there is Third Time's a Charm, which is still going strong. As Brian said over on his show, the long con seemed to have worked. The show is still there, teasing its demise, but it survived. And come check us out over there. Larson had just stopped by. We're talking about Police Academy 3.
Cool.
Come check that out. Joey and I, we started doing Elvis podcasts again, so come listen to Viva Pod Vegas.
One of them. I gave Mike an open invitation. Like, anytime you want to do another one, just come down. You're like, okay, and that hasn't happened again.
Because it's only been a month, right? Has it been 2 months? Has it been a month?
I have no idea. I do know that when Pig comes out next week, we have to, or actually this week as this comes out, we might have to do a Pig Elvis double feature.
Yes, I would be down for that. So the Viva Pod Vegas, keep checking on that. Cage Club with Joey and myself, again, like I just said, Pig coming soon. Check out for that. Yeah, and all the other fine shows over at cageclub.me.
Cool. Well, Joe, the next episode we're doing, as teased, is a bonus episode, a Patreon bonus episode with a past guest, a fan favorite, Garrett Smith. And we've got Cars, the
I'm
Pixar
so
movie
excited.
Cars, as well as, the reason we're doing it, honestly, is because there's a short film called Tokyo Mater.
Yeah.
I guess Tokyo Drift maybe. There's an 8-minute short. They're both on Disney+. So both the movie and the short are on Disney+. If you want to watch along, Tokyo Mater and the original, the first Cars.
I was saying to Rachel, like, when I was looking at our schedule, that, like, I don't think I've seen Cars since it, like, first... Like, I saw it in theaters with my little sister, and then I saw it maybe once on DVD when it came out. But, like, I haven't seen it since, so, like, hopefully we have another turbo experience here where we get a lot of fast connections for no reason.
Maybe. We will find it out very soon. That's the next episode, probably coming out early next. So if you're listening on the Patreon feed, it'll probably be out early next week. And then after that, the next main episode for everybody is Larson's Patreon pick, his $10 a month pick. We are doing a foreign film called Burnout, aka Boarding, from 2014. I'm probably mispronouncing the actual original title, but Burnout from 2014, coming next week on the main feed to everyone. So pretty cool.
He has some great picks, so I'm excited. That's cool.
I was actually thinking about the other day about the music videos that we did for Michelle Rodriguez, and I'm like, well, I wonder why we did that. I was like, oh, right, because Larson picked those. So that was, again, not my favorite episode that we've done, but like that was definitely the most fun, most creative, I think, pick that we've had was just like, oh, yeah, we could just do weird random ass shit, right? So,
Yeah. He thinks outside the box a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Or outside the bun. For all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at TooFast2Forever.com. Get your name shouted out. Get early episodes.
Yeah.
Pick what we watch and
that.
support the show. TooFast2Forever.com. Store TooFast2Forever.shop. And come back next week for Burnout. And if you want to hear the episode on Cars, where we're just like, I hope this is good, check out our Patreon. Again, TooFast2Forever.com. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And I'm Mike Manzi.
And we'll tell you all about it
When we see you